But what should landlords and purchasers be looking for if they're purchasing a home that's 30 years or older? What are a couple of things that they should maybe keep an eye out for? Hello everyone, and welcome to Vancouver's property management and investment podcast. This week I have Ty from Terra Firma Industries, and he is I'd say more than just a general contractor, but you build the things.
Yeah.
So without further ado, welcome to the show, Ty.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wicked. So you started originally just like as a handyman doing, replacing toilets and stuff. No?
Yeah, kind of that's how it started. I did do an apprenticeship with a company for about 6 years.
Okay.
Worked with him, went through the carpentry school and got my ticket and became a Red Seal. And then from there, I just kind of started doing side work, like weekends and evenings for family and friends. And next thing you know, it snowballs into kind of 24/7 with working for my old boss, and then getting home, packing tools, going to my jobs, working weekends. Yeah. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like looking at what I could make in a weekend right. And what I was making in a 2-week check, and it was kind of, that was the breaking point, and that was kind of like, I need to try this on my own. So started off as a one-man show, had that kind of truck and a trailer. My plan was to just do renos, and then next thing I know, one crew led to 2 crews, and it happened really organically, as far as like just referrals and renovations, and that's how I grew. So very, very proud of that. Yeah. It all started in 2003. So 21 years.
Not bad, man.
Not bad at all. I'll take it.
Your company is now legal in the world.
That's right. Yeah. We're actually legit now, right? We got a showroom, designers, project managers, estimators, carpenters. So yeah,
anything needed, you got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
So, yeah.
So I guess we'll just get right into it. So when you're hiring a contractor for renovations, what are some of the questions that should be asked? I mean, whether it be you or anybody for that matter, to make sure that you're not getting some yahoos bust up your place.
Absolutely. It is getting a lot easier for homeowners to find good contractors and good trades, just by the referral world. And research. Everybody's got Google reviews. Should have a decent website. Look at how long they've been in business. That's another huge one, right? Not saying that there's anything wrong with a guy that's only been in business a year. They're up, they're coming. I was there at one time, but look for some longevity. Okay. Look for, always ask for, references are good, but ask for past work. Okay. I'll even take clients through homes that we've done. I have lovely like relationships with people, and they've always opened their house. Like, if you need somebody to come, or if it's an addition, you could just send them like, hey, go by this address. We did the addition over the garage. Have a look at the overall. So ask for references. Ask for past jobs. Okay. Look them up. A lot of companies, BBB is another great one. Better Business Bureau, right? See what their rating is. Again, go back to reviews. See what the reviews say. Right. So talk to neighbors, talk to friends. Anybody that's had a good experience with a contractor is a good start as well. And there's a lot of guys out there that are just kind of winging it. Yeah, because
you hear a lot of horror stories.
Oh, yeah. Like I gave him the deposit and he's gone, right?
Yeah.
All the time. And that's kind of what happens a lot of the time when I knock on your door.
Yeah.
You call me out, I knock on your door. You already have your backup, like this guy is going to rip me off. Like that's kind of what you're coming through the door against. So to reassure people like, hey, listen, we're professional. Ask them how their payment process works. Ask them do you have a schedule? Who runs your jobs? Do you have sub-trades? Are you going to sub the sub-trades out when you start my project? Do you have time for my project? Right. So
that's a time one, because this is some of the things that I found like through the property management and even on the real estate side. We're trying to get something done. Yeah. And like, yep, I'll show up. And so like we're planning the list on, May 1st, and where's your guy? Yeah. I don't know where he went.
Yeah, exactly.
The deposit, he's gone.
That's so true, right? And timelines are so important too, right? Yeah. Like, whether it be based on, a movie, like you said, somebody's listing the house, somebody's buying the house, or they want to get it to market, or there's time crunches. They're always there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's so funny the amount of times that I've shown up for like an initial like site visit, to come out and just look at the project. Like, oh, you showed up. Like, what?
You called me back.
That's how low the standard is I just have to show up. Well, I've called 3 or 4 guys and you're the first one to call back. I still don't get it. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you're right. Like there's always the timelines, right? And having that schedule and having the job laid out before you is super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So is that going with the job laying out? We'll go on that tangent. Like, how does that look when I call you and I need to get my kitchen done?
Yep.
What happens now?
So that's a great question because a lot of people are, where do I start? Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's the phone call. Mm-hmm. It's like, hello, Ty, I'm looking to do a bathroom renovation or a kitchen renovation. The first step would be a bit of a event on the phone. Mm-hmm. Like, what is your scope? What is your budget? What is your timeline? Yeah. And if all that lines up, then it's a good fit for us. Then we'll set up that initial site visit. Yeah. We'll go out and have a consultation. You're going to walk me around your kitchen, tell me kind of your ideas. Mm-hmm. And then that's where, having a professional come in and you're wanting to, relocate the stove over here, or want to put the sink over there. Yeah. Then I can kind of guide you down the path of what's going to fit best logistically in your kitchen.
Yeah. Or possible.
Exactly. To make it even possible, right? Or I want to take out that wall. Well, yes, we can, but that's structural. Yeah. And there's things that, pertain to taking out that wall. Yeah. So that initial site visit, we get the scope. And then what I do is I'll go back to the office and build a proposal off your scope.
Okay.
So we're trying to get a budget, right? Just a rough idea. We're not down to dollars and cents because there's a lot of material to pick out. There's a lot of scope to finalize. Yeah. So we get you a budget. If you're happy with that budget and it kind of fits within the scope, then what we do is we get you into the design phase, and that's where all the good stuff happens. Okay. So you'll sit down with our designer, Sonia. She'll do a full kitchen layout. You get to come in and pick your cabinets, your countertops, backsplash, flooring, all the things that make your kitchen shiny. And then we take that, match it with the scope, and then we now have a contract price.
Okay.
And then once the contract price is there, we pass that over to our project manager, and then timeline, he schedules up the entire project, right down from demo, plumbing rough-in, electrical rough-in, drywall, cabinets, and as it finishes. And the finish, right? Yeah. And again, that schedule is laid out, we'll just say for 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. It is fluid, but most times we're either ahead a week or a few days after. Yeah. We really nailed down that timeline.
That's a good thing.
Unless we do open up, and this sometimes happens, you open up and there's a little bit more to it than expected, or the homeowner adds scope. Mm-hmm. When the homeowner adds scope, they have to understand scope means more work, more time.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you're not finishing on time? Well, you've added a week and a half worth of work. You can't finish on the same timeline, right? Yeah. But setting those standards and that communication early in the project and setting the initial timeline is so crucial. So people understand. The communication is key.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because I've lived through a few renovations, as I'm sure a lot of our listeners have. Yeah. And it's stressful. I'm not even doing the work, but you're up at night having to walk around saws and stuff like this. It sucks, right? It's like,
I say to all the clients is like, you're going to love me in the beginning. You're going to hate me in the middle because there's so much dust, and you'll love me at the end. And it's just it's that love and hate relationship. It's like a marriage where you kind of go through those different stages, and at the end, everything is good, right? And then 6 months down the road, you're in that new space. Yeah. You've forgotten about the dust and all the mess, and you're there for the next 25 years enjoying your renovation.
And getting all them compliments.
That's exactly it.
Getting the compliments. It's a beautiful kitchen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So when you're working with real estate investors and owners and all this stuff, what are some of the most common renovation requests that you see, and why do you think they are those, if you have any insight on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest impact you can put on a house, and the easiest one, is obviously paint. Mm-hmm. Right? Paint is the easiest thing that will transform a room. Yep. If you're looking for increased value in an investment, definitely kitchens and bathrooms. Those are the big ticket items, or anything to do with the actual function of a home. Hot water tank, furnace, roof, windows. Those are big ticket items. So if somebody comes in and they're looking to purchase that home, they're like, oh wow, they've done the furnace, the hot water tank's relatively new, the roof's maybe 5 years old. Those big ticket items, that big, I wouldn't even call it a fear, but people often, when they're purchasing a house, they're looking at, okay, well, this is the cost of the house. What am I looking at as an added cost.
Yeah, for later on down the
road, right? And if some of those big ticket items are like, that's great. We don't have to worry about the roof for 20 years.
Yeah,
which is great, right? Yeah. And again, that's a big investment, but moving forward, that investment's done. Same with the kitchen and bathroom. Those are big ticket items, right? Yeah. So if you're coming into a bedroom's easy to change. Yeah. It's a lick of paint, right? So yeah, if you're looking for long-term, like kind of, I guess would be financial gain, those are the big ticket items that will help you.
Yeah, and
put you above the neighbor's house.
Yeah, for your painting, I guess. Do you use pedigree as well?
Yeah,
yeah, because we had Stuart on the show
really? A
couple months ago.
Yeah.
Painting, so.
They're great. They do. I would say all our painting.
Nice.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah, so it's good. Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Great guys. Yeah, so there you go. Pedigree Painting is a shout out to Stuart.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right?
Yeah.
Now you're talking about like the kitchens and bathrooms. I mean, those are big ticket items, but also like we always say in the real estate that's what sells homes. Just as you said, like generally speaking, a bedroom, it's 4 walls, it's got floor and paint.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't really do too much else to
That's
it,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So it definitely gets into the kitchens. Now, with the kitchens in particular, there's certain things that obviously go in trends and that.
Yeah.
Are there any certain ones that just kind of seem timeless? Like if you don't want to have to keep on doing that.
Yes.
Like, what would you say is a couple of the things that you can renovate your kitchen and it'll probably, maybe the colors will change, but generally
I kind of have a rule of like, what is the intent? Mm-hmm. What is the longevity of your home? Are you here for a 5-year, 10-year, or this is my forever home?
Okay.
And a lot of times we'll judge the renovation on those timelines.
Yeah.
If it's a forever home, I am way more leaning towards what the homeowner wants to create.
Yeah.
It's going to be their home. It's going to be long-term. Shorter term, like it pains me to say it because I'm tired of white shaker kitchens. But to be honest, that is like the timeless, like it will last.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And that look will last. The white subway tile, that kind of nice, soft, marbly, veiny kind of countertop.
Yep.
Those are the ones that will outlive like a certain trend.
Yeah.
Like a certain stain or a two-tone or a certain color. Yeah. Like a couple of years ago, there's like this sage green that was very popular. Well, that's come and gone.
Yeah.
Where the white shaker carries on.
Yeah.
Right. So,
it's funny you're talking about, because I know I can't remember, it was probably at least 6 years ago, at least, probably longer actually. And they had come out with these stoves and fridges that were like fire truck red and stuff like that. I'm like, that ain't gonna last, guys. Like, they look neat, but that's gonna wear off in a month.
Yeah, exactly. And trends like that do tend to kind of come and go. Mm-hmm. But again, that would be a homeowner that's going to be there for 20 to 25 years.
Yeah.
Then, hey, you know what? That fire truck red fridge might be you all day.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're not trying to sell the house in 5 years.
Keep it as is.
Where the people are going to walk in and it's like, well, now we have to replace the appliance package.
Yeah.
Right? So, there's little things you do and don't want to do, but that's a great question. The timeless stuff is more kind of like the white shaker.
Yeah.
Even like right now, we're doing a bit of a transition through the grays as well.
Okay.
It's getting back into kind of the warmer colors.
Yeah.
But it changes all the time. But the white's always the one.
I know that almost every rental that we end up painting is gray walls, white baseboards, and it's just rinse, wash, repeat. Almost every single one. I'm like, okay, this is on again.
Yeah, and we're the same way with the white cabinets. Is like, here's another white shaker, right? Yeah. But it does have its place.
Yeah.
And people do like it, so we just do it every day.
Okay.
Right.
So basically, if someone was thinking to do a flip over a longer term, stick with the white shaker cabinet.
Yeah.
Stick with the veiny.
Yeah. Stick with the neutrals. Like, and again, you don't want to go in and like cookie cutter, but that's kind of like what I say. But you could also go off of like, you can look at the new home trends. You can get the condo magazines and stuff and see what's being built and seeing the color packages.
Okay.
If you're going to do a quick flip or you want a quick clean,
you
can go through those, look at what's trending and still do it on like a reasonable budget. Yeah. So you still have the flexibility of selling.
Yeah,
you're not blowing the budget, putting all the money into your renovation, making it high end, and then not getting the return.
Yeah, which is exactly what we take the whole point out of flip if you don't have returns.
That's right, exactly. The numbers got to work out. Yeah.
So Vancouver has a bunch of older homes, which kind of ties into what we were talking about with styles and that.
Yeah.
But what should landlords and purchasers be looking for if they're purchasing a home that's 30 years or older? What are a couple of things that they should maybe keep an eye out for?
Would this be a long-term investment, or is this more of a flip investment?
Either or, just like
Either or?
making sure that they're like something to look for to make sure that they're not buying a lemon right out of the gates.
Yeah, perfect. This goes back to like the structure of the house.
Yeah.
Like how old are the windows? How old is the furnace? Those are the big ticket items. Like, hey, if you can find a 30-year-old house, it's already probably on that borderline of it needs a roof. It needs a furnace. It's going to need a hot water tank.
Yeah.
And possibly that homeowner has already done a few of those things, right? So, because like you and I just mentioned, it's easy to like clean up bedrooms. Like it's some paint, some floor, and some baseboards. But if you're purchasing that home and you have a few of those things already in the home, that's a huge bonus.
Okay.
Right? Your furnace is going to run you 5 to 10. Yeah. Your hot water tank's going to run you 2 to 3. Yeah. Right? Your roof's going to probably run you maybe 17 to 20.
Yeah.
Right? So any of those big ticket items that have been ticked off, that now allows you to take all those things that you would have had to put into the house. Yeah. Now you can take that $30,000 and it's like, okay, we can do the kitchen.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? So yeah, looking for the things. Same thing with like upgraded like PEX, Poly B, that type of stuff, right? Poly B back in the day, aluminum wiring, that's going beyond 30 years.
Yeah.
But having your inspection done, looking at the book, and then kind of picking through that book to see what those big ticket items that have to be upgraded are.
Yeah.
And again, numbers have to make sense. So if there's too many of those big things that need to be done, you might want to let that one go and look into the next one.
So basically looking for like a stronger bones roof.
Exactly.
Hot water tank, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So then you mentioned PEX and Poly B. Just to clarify for our listeners, that's the piping. Can you go more on that as far as what years around, give or take, that was, if you remember, and what exactly is the problem with it?
So Poly B was kind of like what came after copper.
Yeah.
They started, we're going to try this plastic piping and had plastic fittings.
Okay.
The fittings were initially the problem. The plastic fittings kept breaking and blowing out. So what they did is they changed the plastic fittings to a brass fitting.
Okay.
Which was a little bit better.
Yeah.
But then again, the deterioration of the pipe and the fittings, they basically said, hold on a sec, there's a massive issue with this.
Yeah.
And then they moved to PEX.
Okay.
PEX is like a brand of pipe. So it's still plastic pipe. There's a bunch. There's Uponor. There's a few other brands out there. So it's like a Toyota or a Honda. So kind of similar thing.
Yep.
So a lot of the insurance companies were like, if an inspection was done, there was Poly B. The insurance companies are now asking you to upgrade.
Yeah, okay.
So pull the Poly B out, put in the PEX. So another huge expense.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, that's your whole
that is your budget, right? So now you've bought a house with Poly B and your insurance company says we can't insure it because it has Poly B.
Yeah.
Same thing with aluminum wiring. We're going back much further than 30 years, but aluminum wiring used to be a thing. Now known to cause fires. It can be made safe without ripping the entire house apart. But again, that's an upgrade. If you're looking to purchase, that would be a huge setback to any type of budget.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is, again, funny you're talking about the wiring there, because we had Jesse from Elephant Electricity on here about that.
Yeah.
So those who've been listening for a long time, check out that one too.
That's right. Yeah.
We're just going to sell all
the trades. Who else do we know? I know Tyler. We'll get the Tyler in here, right?
So you had to touch base on the upgrades for kitchens and bathrooms are being some of the most effective.
Yeah. Cost
effective wise, to get the most bang for whichever one of those, what would you say is like probably your like top one or two to, I mean, I obviously paint, but like, if you have a choice between doing the counter fronts or the tops or the floor, or like whichever, what would you say is your best?
I think the easiest one is to re. Okay. So like if you're going to do it, just leave the stove where the stove is, leave the fridge where the fridge is, leave the walls alone. Yep. You just want to clean up. So I would probably do flooring is fairly easy in a kitchen. There's a lot of product out now. There's vinyl plank, there's vinyl tile, very cost effective and great with water.
Yeah.
Right. It's a vinyl product. It's plastic. If you have a flood or if that dishwasher lets go, you clean up the floor. It's not affected. Yeah. So great longevity in that type of floor. Then you're going to do some cabinets. We have a couple of different lines of cabinets. You'd maybe do like, if it's going to be for sale, we're going to probably use the entry level Lectus line for you.
Okay.
If it's a longer term, we would jump up into the Merit line for you. So we have 2 lines. And then obviously countertops are a huge effect. So I would say you start basically got the kitchen to basically just the walls. We're not going to have to do drywall. We're not going to do insulation.
Okay. So
we're just taking out cabinets. Leave the box. Exactly. Okay, that's a great way to put it. Leave the box, put the flooring in. You're going to put your cabinets in, new countertops. Maybe if you can save the appliances, or put a small appliance package in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your bare bones.
Okay.
Is that like kind of where we would start with a kitchen renovation.
Okay, perfect. So just definitely keep it in within that realm, just go on the lower side if it's for short term.
Exactly.
Hiring for longer because you're going to stick around and enjoy it, right?
Well, that's right. Exactly. And then the other end of that is restructuring, opening walls, and you're going to the next level. There's a lot between those two. Trust me, you don't have to be at one or the other.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that kind of mid-grade, mid-level. So we can kind of accommodate from just a very basic to full custom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just depending again on budget and needs. Going back to the 5, 10.
Yeah.
Kind of.
What your lifetime in the house
exactly.
is. Right? That makes sense. Now, you also talked about, just briefly, going into the walls. I know that for a while, when we needed to get some repairs done, we got asked by some of the contractors about whether there was asbestos in the walls. And I'm like, the house is built in the 90s. What are you talking about? But there was a time in there, was there not?
Yep. I believe right now it's still at 1991.
Okay.
So anything prior to 1991, you need testing.
Yeah.
And you actually need a report, otherwise, to actually get rid of the drywall.
Yep.
So if we're coming into your house, we have a company that comes in and does a full scale. So we give them the scope and we say we're going to touch wall A, B, and C. We're taking down ceiling.
Yep.
We're removing the ducting. And they come in and do testing for the whole thing and give us a report.
What is the timeline on that usually, like between them going up? I know it's another company, but generally speaking, what can you expect?
That happens in our pre-construction.
Okay.
So we know the house is older. We do have a pre-construction clause. So that would be like, especially if we're getting permits, that's all in the pre-construction. So timeline turnaround on a test for asbestos is about a week.
Okay.
So and again, that's done in pre-construction while the design is happening. So if there is a cost,
not wasting time.
Exactly. So if there is a cost and we do come back, we can get a company in to come and cost out the abatement.
Yep.
So then that does go into the scope of work and it's not an added cost to the homeowner's part of the actual contract.
Okay. Which is actually kind of nice that you talked about permits and that, because that's with everything going on with all the different cities.
Yeah.
Permitting, it seems to be all over the damn map.
It definitely is. And it seems like everybody's going by their own code book.
Yeah.
Every city has their own reasons and their own methods. So yes, permits can take a while. Okay. It is out of our control.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can only do so much once we get the paperwork in. We're kind of at the mercy of the city, how many contractors there, how long it's going to take. So it could be as quick as a couple of weeks for a small, or up to 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So
now, do you help sort of navigate that sort of thing, or is that sort of on the owner? Like how does that go about?
Absolutely, that's on us. So we supply all your drawings. We apply for the permit. We go in. We'll talk to the city. Go back and forth with the city. Actually, I've been using Shira. She's amazing. She's with permitsets.com, I believe.
Okay.
And she will take care of all the drawings, take care of all the permit applications. So it's just, that's what she does.
Yeah.
So,
which is good, because there's a lot of
back and forth, and she knows the codes inside and out. She's great to deal with.
Yeah.
And very kind of like, she just has that attitude, like where she just goes, gets it,
yeah.
knows it really in her vocabulary. So it works really well. Yeah.
Which is kind of helpful because, I mean, I don't mean to throw City Hall under the bus, but sometimes you're like, what are you guys doing down there? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it is very frustrating, and it's not only us. I think it's like, kind of across the board.
Yeah.
I know some cities are working hard to kind of streamline and correct things and make things better, but it's always
Yeah, it seems like Surrey actually has a pretty good system with the Cosmos system. I find that's quite helpful for a lot of stuff.
You know what? It is. And the other thing too is a lot of the stuff used to be like this, either one city insists on it coming through online.
Mm-hmm.
The other city insists that it's all paper copy.
Really?
But it's getting easier and easier to swing towards everything online.
Mm-hmm.
I understood back in the days, yes, we need stamps from architects. We need wet stamps from the engineers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I think with the way things are swinging, everything online is actually a better process because everything is like the stuff coming from my architect, my structural engineer.
Yeah.
It's all coming online now. Nobody's printing anything. I'm not getting a set of plans.
Of course not.
Right? It's just sent over and I'm sending it in. So I think that's another big move that the cities are starting to make.
Okay.
To make it a little bit easier and, you know, the back and forths.
Yeah. Especially because we've seen and heard some horror stories, and even like through the selling process, you know, we come into places and there's like an addition on a house and there's no permits for that. I'm like, I don't know if we should get involved in this.
Yeah.
The city come knocking on the door, they will make you take it down.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what Shears says. Like, we get word from Shears. So I've got a client and they actually literally have to take a deck off.
Yeah.
Right. They got a deck without a permit.
Yep.
So okay, we'll take it. We'll come demo a deck. Right. This is the way it works. It's give and take. And then we'll get a permit and rebuild it for you.
Nice. That's actually a good segue for us, because have there been any projects that you've had to rescue? You know, where an investor or a homeowner cut some corners and try to get Uncle Joe to do it?
Well, it's similar. Not so much. It's more so with contractors that have either like, and I want people to understand that sometimes it's not always the contractor.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be the homeowner, right? Mm-hmm. There's just not a gel. There's not a bond between the two. Things break down like a marriage, and all of a sudden there's the divorce.
Yeah.
Right. So we have like picked up the pieces of some projects where people are like kind of halfway through, whether it was, you know, their side or the contractor side. Mm-hmm. It didn't work out. So anyways, the job needs to be completed. So we've had a few situations like that where we've come in and completed, a half-done project. Okay. Right. So things happen and relationships kind of dissolve. And that's where that communication comes in, where it's so important. Because if you're communicating through a project, there should be no breakdown.
Absolutely.
Right.
Everyone should be on the same page. Right?
Honesty, transparency, this is what's happened. Yeah. We need a week extra, or the homeowners made decisions, or however that works, as long as there's communication back and forth, then that relationship doesn't break down.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, but on the other hand, there are contractors that may have gotten over their head. Yeah, that type of stuff too. They've taken it on. All of a sudden, scope creep. The job's getting bigger. They're uncomfortable. They're outside their, and they don't have the capacity to take it on. Right. So another good thing, going back to that very start, make sure the contractor you're hiring is capable of taking on the project you're looking to have done.
Yeah. So I guess a good question for that would be, how many projects are you currently working? Yeah. And how many is in your career?
and how big a job? Is this a job you've taken on? Do you have previous pictures or photos of a job similar to the one we're asking you to do? Right?
That makes sense. Yeah. With doing the renovations now, is there a big difference between residential and commercial? Because I know that you do both.
Yeah, we do both.
But is there a difference as far as whether it be, quality, obviously you're trying to keep the highest, but different demands for both? Are they separate, or
a lot of the times when you're doing commercial, it's more so for like a company. Okay. So there's not a lot of emotional contact with the renovation you're doing. They're doing it for a business, still good quality. Yeah. Like you said, a homeowner, it's a very emotional kind of roller coaster, right? Like, I've given you full trust in my home. You've literally demolished my home. I'm trusting you to put my home back together, right? So excuse me, that side of it is definitely, there's more to the residential side of emotion, and I think as a homeowner you care more, where on the commercial side, again, a lot of the times we're dealing with large corporations, big companies, so there's not that. So sometimes that's a little bit easier to control, easier to deal with, easier to project manage. I got you. Without that emotional attachment to it.
Yeah, because you can't logic emotion.
No,
it's
never.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Right? Now, with the rising costs of materials and labor and that, what would be some advice to help stay on budget? I know that you said there's two different lines, obviously, that you use and stuff like that. So what's the best way to get some bang for your buck?
So that's why we work on a contract price.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everything is finalized through the design.
Yeah.
So the best way to stay on budget and on time is to not add scope.
Okay.
Right. So if we're halfway through your project and let's say we're just doing a downstairs main floor renovation,
mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, Tyo, we've got a bathroom upstairs. We want to do some doors and some trim.
Yeah.
There's there's scope creep right there, right? Like we're already there. It's not a problem to do, but if we're really trying to stay on budget and budget's important, timelines are important.
Mm-hmm.
You can't add scope and timeline to a project if you're trying to meet a certain budget, right? So that goes back to us being very careful of the amount of scope we're doing
mm-hmm.
and the cost of the project that they're in line.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we're working on a contract price. There shouldn't be any hiccups. Yeah. We shouldn't increase anything unless there's work added.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing is we work all that on change work orders.
Okay.
So anything outside the contract is a change work order. So mm-hmm. let's just say you wanted a door and trim package. I'm like, that's fine. We create a change work order. It's a separate quote so that the homeowner can then look at it and say, okay, exactly. So I know that all the doors, all the trims are going to be replaced, painted for $5,000.
Yeah.
Right. I can make an informed decision that I want to add that scope
mm-hmm.
and that timeline to my project, or I can just say, no, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, and again, that's being transparent, having the clarity, and then understanding not at the end of the project, oh, by the way, here's a extra for the doors you asked for, and the window we replaced, and you're sitting there, and the homeowner's going like it added up to $13,000. Like, where did this come from?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then you're stuck in that awkward conversation at the end of the job, looking for the money. Whereas if it's transparent, the homeowner gets to sign off on it,
mm-hmm.
and then if there's anything sticky, it's look, Mr. Smith, you signed a change work order, you authorized the work. That's where the extra money's coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I forgot I signed the change work order.
And then everything's a little bit smoother because no one feels like they're getting screwed over, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like that. Oh, yeah. And that's why we had one project like that, and so change work orders came in instantly, and it took away all of that.
Yeah, which is good. You're getting rid of the pain point, and that's kind of the job, right?
Exactly. And at the end of the job, the money is always sticky.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a big project. The payments have come out. Like, we're almost at the end.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to sit there and pass a bill across the table for $20,000 of extra work, and they're like,
absolutely,
we don't have the money. Sorry. Right? So
now, speaking of the material costs, it would be remiss to not talk about tariffs now, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that affecting you guys at all? As I know that it's what time is it? I don't know if it's on or off.
Yeah, that's right. Turn on the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
See what else happened.
Right. But do you think that that's going to have an effect up here? I know that a lot of the stuff, the tariffs down there from our wood and steel, but the wood's already here. So is that affecting you much?
We haven't really seen it yet. I think it might affect our glass.
Okay.
A lot of the glass comes from the States. So I think, it might affect our window prices, some of our glass and our showers and stuff like that. But we tend to try and buy a lot of Canadian products regardless.
Okay.
It might affect us with where we buy cabinets, depending on where they get their supplies from.
Mm-hmm.
If some of their melamines and stuff come from the States, there might be an increase there.
Okay.
But we use Rybel plumbing products. They're all Canadian. Merit Cabinets is based in Surrey. They're Canadian. Okay. So we try and purchase as much Canadian as we can.
Yeah.
We like to use the smaller suppliers, stay away from Home Depot. We use Poco Builders a lot. We use Haney Builders a lot. Okay. Try and support local small businesses, right? We all kind of, I've been going to Poco Builders probably since 2003.
Okay.
Right. So I used to, the first house was a few blocks away.
Yes.
So, you build those long-standing relationships, and you want to carry those on.
Okay.
And they're great about informing us of price increases as well.
Mm-hmm.
They can send newsletters and stuff like this. This might be tariffed, or we will be seeing an increase because there is a tariff, right? So hopefully it won't be a kind of a sprung overnight type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't seen like a massive effect yet from the tariff, but
so
like
it hasn't really affected your quotes or anything.
Not really, not quite yet, but we definitely not as bad as what happened with COVID.
Oh yeah,
like it was overnight increases. I think I had a truss package almost double on me on one of my projects.
Wow!
From the time I kind of priced it out to the time we ordered it, almost doubled.
That's a bit of a hit, hey?
It is. So that was a little clause we decided to add in at the bottom, that any unexpected material costs, but those costs are passed at our cost.
Yeah.
So if I've priced out a timber package for say $12,000, at the time we've started and priced the project, and it comes in $1,000 more, it's just a straight difference between the quote and the cost.
Okay.
Just trying to we don't need to kind of mark that up. We're just recovering costs. The owner's just paying for that separation, the additional cost. Because sometimes, and again, going back to permits, I might price out a job and we might receive the job this month. I might not see the permit till September, and we start in October. Well, there's 4 or 5 months between.
A lot can happen.
A lot can happen, right? So that's why we have that. So the price now and the price in December might be, if it's minimal, I'm not going to worry about it. If we have a crazy increase, then we're going to sit down and probably have a conversation.
Of course.
Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and with those tariffs, I've seen that some companies have just actually been putting the tariff line. So it's itemized as like, this is the tariff. We're not suddenly marking you up.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Which is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Then you're like eye-opening, like, that's how much the tariff is?
Yeah.
This is insane, right? But that's a great way to actually lay that out. It was kind of like the same thing with the supermarkets, labeling everything Canadian.
Yeah.
What a great way to do it, right? It's a no-brainer for me now. I just go and grab the Canadian product, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So having that line, you know what you're paying for as far as the tariffs goes. So, yeah.
So I know that things come out a lot. There's been a lot of changes, just using things such as electricity with solar power and LEDs and whatever else, lasers for friggin' like whatever, right? What are some of the more innovative, lesser known products, if any, that you can think of that have, relatively recently come out that maybe people should check out or maybe even go back to? Like, one of the things that I noticed that Arborite looks a lot better than it used to. Because old Arborite that was trying to imitate looking like marble was like, come on, guys, let's take a picture. Like, come on. Right? So is there any later innovations that you thought like, hey, that's kind of neat, and we weren't using that as often, or maybe more people should use?
I think there's a big a lot of people are kind of moving to home automation, which I think is just kind of the way things are.
Yeah.
With everything being in your pocket on your phone, like it's so easy. There's apps for everything. You can turn your heat up. You can turn your lights on. Like, home automation is definitely a big one.
Okay.
I do fear a little bit that everything is going electric. Maple Ridge instilled that you cannot have gas. Everything's got to be. I think actually Vancouver might even be the same way. So we're putting a lot of electrical components into our home now. So your stove, your dryer, everybody's got a car charger, maybe 2.
Yeah.
There's a huge draw on the electrical, but I don't see the infrastructure behind it right now. I don't see hydro making moves, to increase our supply.
Power.
Exactly. Right. But we're straining the grid.
Okay.
And I think, that's just now. Give it another 5 or 6 years, and we're going to have to start making some moves. And unfortunately, I think we're going to be behind.
Yeah.
Right. With the regulations and stuff they're putting in. But a lot of stuff is going electric. So you got electric heat pumps, furnaces, hot water. What the gas did take a little bit of pressure off is now taken away.
Yeah.
And your whole home. Not only that now, I'm sure you're aware of this with the new zoning. Some areas you can have 4 to 6 units depending on your zone. So now we have 6 dryers, we have 6 stoves, we have 6 of everything.
Yeah, that's a lot of power. 120 a lot.
It's a ton, right?
Yeah.
So everything that used to be in one home is now in 6 homes on the same lot. Right? So you've basically taken your electrical draw for that one lot and multiplied it by 6.
Yeah.
So now you do that over and over and over and over. That is a massive amount of draw. So
that makes sense.
But yeah, sorry, we kind of got tailed off there. Going back to your question about like the latest and greatest, I definitely think it's home automation, and it's getting easier and easier.
Okay,
like everything. Like, I mean, you want to put an amazing sound system in your house, you can hook up Sonos in a day.
Really,
and it works great. It's all wireless. It's an app on your phone. You turn on your living room, you turn on your dining room, you play your music, you hook up to your sub. Like, it's a great system, right? So things are just becoming easier, more streamlined. Where back in the day, you have to have a rack somewhere in the corner, and have it kind of
those giant ass speakers,
everything wired, and into ceilings and stuff like that. But so I would say home automation is probably one of the biggest things that we're seeing kind of progress, which is nice. I kind of like it.
Nice,
so, yeah.
Now, we were talking earlier about some trends and stuff like that, and I mean, one of the ones I'm noticing is that silver is turning back into brass for doorknobs and stuff. It has to go back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, if you're going to change your doorknobs, just keep them.
Yeah, that's right.
Back later.
Put them in a box. Yeah,
right.
Put them in the attic. Mark the year.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that as well, have you seen any changes as far as people's desires between open concept and closed? Like, has that been coming back too? Do people want to go closed again? Or are they sticking with open?
I think open concept is still the way things are going, like that great room feel. Mm-hmm. The days of like, here's your dining room, here's your living room, here's your kitchen.
Yeah.
I think for the foreseeable future, I don't really see it.
Okay.
But we continue to take out walls and open concepts and stuff like that.
Okay.
I do find there's more kind of, what we're doing is trying to have like an adult area and a kid area.
Okay.
Like, especially as families are getting older, going into teens, they kind of want the teens hanging out a lot. Yeah. And it's different than back in the day. Like, I find a lot of teens stay at home, right? They're not out on the Friday nights and stuff like that. My kids aren't, it seems like, but it's nice to have the area for them to go and for the adults to socialize and stuff. So I've noticed that as a bit of a trend, or maybe that's just the clientele we're having right now. Have that kind of, that turning point. Also, a kind of a trend is expanding homes.
Yeah, it is me. I forgot to turn my own demo.
Yeah. So anyhow, that kind of separation. The open concept, I think, is people don't want to be in the kitchen anymore. They kind of want to be in the room. Yeah. If you're entertaining, you're having people over, like, the old style is like there's two people in the kitchen doing the cooking. They're kind of like out of the way. Yeah. Exactly. Whereas now with the open concept and everybody kind of, when you're having people over, you're having a party or you're having a dinner, people kind of automatically kind of like go to the kitchen. That's where everything's happening, and
everything gravitates to the kitchen.
So you have this big, beautiful island and you just put the food out, that becomes the entertaining area. Yeah. So you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, which is lovely. I think the open concept and having that family kind of atmosphere, which I think is lost a little bit today with phones and everything like that, having that family time and everybody's busy and on the phone. It's nice to come have everybody in a room.
Yeah, so that open concept kind of almost forces it.
Yeah, like mom and dad or the kids might be in the kitchen, but everybody's there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As a family unit,
yeah,
everybody's in the same room. The kids might be watching TV, but everybody's talking, everybody's there. Okay. Where it used to be kind of like, people there, people here. So yeah.
Because I was wondering, because as I said, like, it seems the trends cycle. So I was wondering, like, are we going back to closing things again?
Not quite yet.
Yeah.
Not quite yet.
You think we're going to have like a shag carpeting conversation pit?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back in 10 years. We'll see where we're at. Right. It might be green shag. Yeah. Dark paneling walls.
My parents used to have shag in the kitchen.
Did they?
Yeah, like way back when. Man, that's nasty.
We've actually pulled carpet out of bathrooms.
It's a bad idea, Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Wicked. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We've dug into a bunch of good information for us all there. Yeah. If someone's trying to get a hold of you, what's the best way to find you?
Probably just online. Okay. Through Terraform Industries. Okay. Look us up on the web, get through the website, or they can call me directly, 604-312-6160.
Wicked.
I'd be happy to come out and have a chat or an initial phone call.
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll have all that information in the description below so people can find it. So it'd be all good. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. If you've been listening this long, we really appreciate. This has been Bamboo, Vancouver's Property Management and Investment Podcast.